Hey everyone,
What's
welcome
up?
to Just Us Bros podcast, where we're talking about DC's latest outing. As always, we have,
Not true. Greenlander.
Flash Man.
and so guys, with this, there wasn't a lot of hype for it, but we all saw it Thursday night. What did you guys think of it? Go ahead, Bat Drew. What was your first impressions of it?
If I wanted to sum this movie up in one sentence, I would say it takes a village because yes, this movie was about Blue Beetle, but it was a lot more too about his family and how they helped out and worked as a unit. And it was a fun movie, a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was not riddled with so many Easter eggs, but I think since this is apparently James Gunn's first movie for the new DCU, I think it's a good start. Seeing as if the movies are going to be paced kind of like that, um, I'm excited for the new DCU, but also I feel like um, I want a little bit more. If that makes sense.
I agree with Bat Drew. I enjoyed the movie. Um, I do agree it was all about family. Family.
Familia.
Um, it was good. I'm sure we'll get into the pacing, but overall, I enjoyed it. I would see it again. I kind of want to see it again.
Mine's going to be different than everybody else's.
I doubt
I,
it.
I felt like I was watching a Marvel movie. It did not have the DC feel. Was it a good movie? Sure. It was entertaining, but was it DC? Not in my eyes, no. Uh, I did like the fact that it based around family. I thought that was very, very well done. But nah, not for me.
Okay, well, my synopsis of here's what I thought about it. Boo Beetle. It was not good. It was a bad movie. It was straight up bad for one reason. Actually, more than one reason, but most of it was bad writing. That's my opinion on it. So hate me if you want. I really did want it to be good, but it was not. And leading up to it, I know when we like you see all these articles from movie fan or whatever where they're like, oh, it's expected to do this, it's expected to be bad, it's expected to be bad. Well, I made an effort, bought my ticket in advance, and all this. I know we want it to be good, but all day after I bought my ticket, I was looking at the reserved seats. Bought my ticket at noon, and up until the show, I was the only person to buy a ticket until like 20 minutes before the movie. Granted, it might have been it was 9 o'clock on a Thursday, and no one wanted to go, but there was only like 10 people in there, and that they all showed up like 5 minutes before the movie. What was the experience like for you guys? Like, how crowded was your theater?
You had more than us.
I also live in a bigger
We
city.
we took up 5 seats, and I think there were two other couples and or three, but two of those or of the three, one couple was they worked at the theater. But also, I think it chalks it up to it not being very packed. One, it wasn't very promoted because of the strikes right now. They can't really promote much. And two, I think a lot of schools started back up, and it's a Thursday afternoon. Drew, are you trying to say that you think that the movie wasn't successful because there was nobody there? Like,
No,
are
I'm
you
not saying.
just saying it was bad because there was nobody there,
No,
or
I know I'm
do you
saying it's
think that
bad.
people
I
were?
have a list of reasons why I think it's bad. It's not. It has nothing to do with fan out. Coming out to watch the movie. I just think it's bad. I mean, plenty of bad movies have made bank. Plenty of bad movies have not made bank. But I will say why I think it's a bad movie, and nothing to do with the fans.
I will have to chime in and we saw a bunch of other movies this summer. Barbie movie being one of them. Barbie movie grossing $1 billion this
Yeah,
year. I liked it better than the Barbie movie.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, even bad movies make a lot of money, and good movies don't make a lot of money.
I disagree.
But
I don't think it was a bad movie.
I'm
I
just
think it
saying.
was
Oh,
I think it was poor character development in certain spots.
and
There was
we'll
no
get into
villain.
all that.
Yeah. There was no villain. Um,
And and this, and just to start off, I have, on how you want to classify it, I have 1 to 3 positives from the movie, and it is the best part of the movie for me was Zola Mariduena and his portrayal of Jaime. The suit looked great, and the fight scenes. Fight scenes were great with him. Everything else was not for me.
Mm,
Yeah.
almost
So,
leaving the last fight scene myself. So
so let's start out. What do we think of his portrayal of Blue Beetle and Jaime Reyes?
Well, for me, it
spot on.
definitely, yeah, I liked it. It definitely made me want to go back to watch Young Justice season 2 because I was thinking like they just pulled Jaime out of Young Justice from that animated show and put him on the big screen because I was like, okay, I can get behind this. I like that. Yeah. If we're just talking about just his performance as Blue Beetle, yeah, I liked it.
I mean, I loved him in Young Justice. I liked him in pretty much every portrayal. So I don't think the character is not hit for me on that. But um, I think he was great. And if we're gonna let's just switch it up, and what do we think of the other characters in here? Flashman, if you want to go on that.
uh Granny was awesome. Like I
Nana.
want her backstory alone, just as a movie by itself. I think that would be fantastic. I personally hated George Lopez's character, but I'm just not a George Lopez fan. Like I feel like they relied too heavily on him being funny, and I don't think I cracked a smile once. It's
I,
just
I think, wasn't he a producer on it, because they like shoehorned him in a lot.
yeah, it wasn't for
And
me.
and a lot of the times I noticed with this, and you guys can comment on that, is like he would say something to be like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna say something funny," and then he would like pause and wait for the laugh, but then nobody would laugh. It just sort of fell flat a lot,
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
he
definitely
reminded me a lot of you.
funny.
and I hate myself. So
But yeah, I did notice that too. They it seemed like they're trying to if they had marketed this, they would have been like, hey, look, you remember that guy from that TV show a long time ago that you watched? He's a big part of this movie, but it was mostly supposed to be a Blue Beetle movie. So yeah, I can see that they did like I'm not gonna say it was shoehorned that he was in more because I felt like the parts that he was in, he was important for. I was kind of surprised that he was kind of like um Jaime's guy behind the chair or guy at the chair, guy in the chair, geez, for him. Like it surprised me that he would know so much about all the technical stuff and like the Beetle Cave things and whatnot. But yeah. What do you think, Gio?
I agree. I feel like the movie spent way too much time focusing on the different family members, versus Blue Beetle, Jaime. Again, I I think Jaime, the actor that played Jaime, did a great job. I almost want to go back and compare the screen time of like George Lopez versus Zolo Maridueña and see. I bet they got equal, if not more. George Lopez got more screen time. Um, and that again, I liked the George Lopez show when I was a kid. I watched it. I've got nothing against George Lopez. This movie, his character was a little annoying for me. So I kind of agree with Flashman and Hokey Joker. Um, and also, I feel like we needed not necessarily a whole lot of backstory, but we needed more explanation. Is why was Nana such a badass? Why did she have all that? Like, yeah, she was a freedom fighter in some kind of revolution, war, or something, but when, where, why, how? Like that made no sense. George Lopez, how did he know how to do all these technological things that he did? Yeah,
That's
he
what I
was
was gonna
Exactly.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's like anti-government conspiracy nut, but how did he learn all these like the first time they went to go back to the core industries, he's like, oh, I have this device on my truck. It's like, how?
where'd that come from?
Yeah, like why were you creating this? When did you think you would need it, and how is it readily available?
Oh, and
Like,
also, how do you know how to fly the big ass beetle at the end of the movie? Like, oh yeah, flip, 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 go. What?
he was a
yeah,
fan of him originally, though.
that's
But that
true. That
doesn't.
does.
But that
Just
still
because we're a
doesn't.
fan of Batman doesn't mean we
So
know how to drive the Batmobile.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm a fan of Batman, but I'm pretty sure I couldn't drive the Batplane right now if it was sitting in the front yard. I would
Yeah.
try.
I would try.
You just need a couple beers.
So like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go, and you guys spoke on the George Lopez knowing how to do all that stuff. I'm just gonna go down like when you think of like, oh, what do I think of the other characters? What other characters? They had zero development. Annoying sister, okay. And honestly, they should have given more time to the dad. The whole like he died. Like that's the emotional push
Spoilers.
for it. We're talking
Who
about
cares
whatever.
about spoilers? It's a horrible movie.
There we go. But like the dad is supposed to be the emotional core of it. You're like, hey, but no, George Lopez needs more screen time. No, he doesn't.
It would have been more effective if George Lopez died, honestly.
It
We
might
had
have been a better movie.
but seriously, as an audience and character building, we knew more about George Lopez and he had more screen time to where his death would have been like, oh shit, a lot worse than his dad, who
Yeah,
it's like everything's gonna be okay.
I don't
And then he
think.
died.
Yeah, I don't think the characters got enough screen time to actually matter to me. Like his mom was just there, didn't have any background for it. The sister was just annoying. I hated how at the end, like even in the trailers when they like the latter trailer where they're like showing the grandma with the minigun. I'm like, I'm gonna hate this because this is a Blue Beetle movie. I want to see Blue Beetle do all the ass kicking, not six people that don't really have development. I hated how they're like, oh yeah, grandma was a resistance fighter. Villains, the villains were like, we're evil because we're supposed to be, and then the reveal that what was the bad guy's name? The guy that looked like Crimson Dynamo or Whiplash, I, Anatoly or something like that. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
You're
that's the
thinking of
problem is you
Iron Man
can't
too,
remember the
I think.
name. There's no
yeah.
substantiality to it.
And like at the end when they was about to like,
Carapace.
yeah,
Carapax. Carapax.
yeah, Carapax there at the when they're the fight. He's like, no, here's his backstory now. We have 2 minutes left in the movie. Like this is horrible. Like in my opinion, I'm like this sucks. Like I did. If you wanted to be a complex villain, set that up in the beginning. But also at the end, he's like, oh, I remember how, Susan Sarandon kidnapped me, cut off my arms, sent me to war. Dude, you're like 50. Like you should have already like known this. And there's no inkling in the movie of her erasing his mind. So how did he forget? And also with the court industry when what was her name? The love interest. I can't even remember. Jenna. When she's in the house and she pulls up the OMAC thing, and just from a standpoint, yeah, it's supposed to look evil, but did they have to go that hard? Like this looks like propaganda from World War II to show how evil things are.
It looked like a robotic parademon from Zack Snyder's, is what I saw without wings. Like it had
Yeah.
fixed wings, is what I saw.
Yeah, but remember the video at the beginning where they're like, "We're gonna put OMAC out into the world." Honey, if you showed that to anyone, anybody who was going to buy into that would be like, "This looks like Nazi-esque. This looks evil." In a real world setting, it's supposed to for the audience member, but not that hard, not that obvious. So, sorry, I'm going on a rant. What do you think of the other characters, guys? Or did we already discuss that?
Again, back
Well, I
to
think
what
everybody did, but for me,
The villains.
I was
Talk about
fine with talk about what?
the villains because I know you guys. I don't think you guys touched on the
We
villains.
haven't said anything about the family yet, or my take.
about
My
Uncle
take.
Ben?
But no, for the movie, the family was in it a lot. I did not mind that I didn't know much about their backstories or character development because this is a Blue Beetle movie. They were in it. How as much as they were in it, I was actually glad that for Jaime, like he wasn't doing this by himself. He was doing all this stuff with his family. If anything, this movie was only about 2 hours and change. I would have been fine if this movie was like 2.5 hours, maybe, and we got more backstory into actually the Scarab and the Scarab lore.
Agreed.
That's what I think the movie was missing instead of more character development or backstory from the family. Which, like I said, it was fine. For what it was worth, I think we got what we needed with the families and dynamics with the group, how they all mesh together, and piggybacking on like if the uncle George Lopez would have died rather than um the dad, yes, I think that would have affected Jaime more, but I don't think that would have affected the entire family as much. Like they would have been sad too, but losing the dad, I think that actually put fighting spirit into the entire family than it would have if Uncle Lopez would have died. And that's my take on that.
And
So, like Uncle Ben.
yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
Uncle Bend him. Like going back to what you said, Flash Man, they did take a lot from Marvel, even if it goes to the comics. But honestly, with the dad, I completely forgot he already had a heart attack since they mentioned at the beginning of the movie when he comes back. They're like, yeah, welcome back. By the way, we're gonna lose the house. We lost the shore. Oh, lost the store. And by the way, Dad had a heart attack. Oh, I thought you guys were supposed to be close. Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you. No, if someone has a heart attack, doesn't matter what's going on. You're just like, hey, we're good. You do you. Just wait like 6 weeks until you have left school, whatever. But I just didn't like how they Uncle Bend him and then literally Black Panthered him later in the movie when Jaime was dying. Like it was literally they're pulling from MCU and it's not good.
It genuinely did not feel like a DC movie. I mean, the Blue Beetle is an awesome character had they wrote it correctly and actually just gave us the backstory of the scarab, explained the different scarabs. Like they're trying to hit the gravy train of Marvel. And that's what I was afraid of with James Gunn. This right here.
But the movie was in development before James Gunn officially took
True.
over. It's been years.
Very
so
true.
it might have a little spice of James Gunn in there, but not a full James Gunn development. So we will say that.
I
Yeah.
didn't really pick up any James Gunn involvement. Like I like it didn't feel like a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Suicide Squad. Which I
No.
feel like a James Gunn movie is going to have some kind of tones like that to it. But
Yeah.
but no, I agree with Flashman. I would have liked to get more and Bat Drew. I would have liked to get more into the background of the Scarab, talk about the Reach. They didn't, other than just saying alien, they didn't go into any of that. And I think the movie could have been a lot better if when they went to the Cord Cave or somehow, which I know they teased Ted Cord, but I feel like the movie could have been better if Ted Cord was there and he was acting as some kind of mentor. And he's like, "Oh, you got the Scarab to open and accept you as a host. I've been trying to do that for 30 years, never could get it to happen." And like, I think it would have been more effective with Ted Cord being there as like a guide and mentor versus George Lopez.
Um,
Whole different movie. Whole different movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
I also
Go
feel
ahead.
like they relied heavily on the intro with all of the newspaper clippings and all that to explain the background. Like, did anybody else notice that they just
They,
blatantly skipped it essentially?
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think
I
for the
noticed.
intro, I was getting popcorn ready, and most people were probably going to the bathroom or just showing up when the intro came on.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bathroom, I think this movie had way too much toilet humor for a serious. I'm not gonna say it was. Yeah, it was goofy and all that stuff, but it had way too much toilet humor for my liking. And I'll tell you the exact moment it happened. But when it starts off, I'm gonna go take a dump.
But
Yeah, I want to like when they're in the mansion. I'm gonna go take a dump, brother. Jaime, look be a lookout. I deserve to dump in luxury. Like, okay, that's annoying. And then later, I didn't like when the beetle attached to Jaime, and he's like whatever. It went inside me. And then twice in this movie, George Lopez says, "Oh, it went up his ass." Like this is your badass superhero, and something's crawling up your ass. That's not really a badass superhero. But the moment that real like I was like, this is way too much is when the Beetle car, whatever it is like in the castle, and then they hit the I see bug fart button and they hit it. Okay. Don't do anything else other than that, and like the smoke starts coming out, and then you hear the stock sound of
Mm-hmm.
no.
Did you really
That is,
fart right there?
no, that was mouth noises. But
Uh-huh.
that was just way too stupid and immature for me.
But they explained earlier that Ted Cord had a sense of humor, so that makes sense that that would be in there. That it says bug fart. It not only puts out the gas but makes the noise. That was his sense of humor. They explained that earlier in the movie.
But no, just call it bug fart. Don't have the stupid ass noise because it detracts from the movie overall. Whenever I hear stock things like that, with the exception of maybe the Wilhelm scream, I
Are
think
you,
is a distraction.
are you going to tell the Joker not to have his little shocky where he shoots out the flower and whatever?
No, because the
in the
Joker's the
water
only
and
no, because the Joker's the only one in pop culture who does that, where every other property and every other TV show, movie, whatever makes that noise. It's not like the fart noise isn't specific to one character. Literally, everyone uses it, and I'm just not a fan of toilet humor
Really, really.
in movies. I'm not.
I think it makes
Uh,
sense for the character, and they even
Yeah.
explained it. So I disagree with you on that.
no, I'm just saying I
I
didn't like it,
I
and I thought it detracted.
I
That's your
liked
opinion.
it
I'm giving
too.
you my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, because that's what's great about movies. They're subjective. Like, look at us. Like the two on top like the movie, two on the bottom hate the movie. We both have, or both sets have opinions, and they make sense why we would or would not like them. But yeah, I'm agreeing with GL again. I did like the bug fart. I mean, basically what it's knockout gas, and I've known some of y'all to fart in one. I mean, it almost knocks me out. So that made sense to me.
See, I thought it wasn't a knockout gas. I thought it was like just a smoke
Smoke screen.
screen to try to kill everybody, and then all of a sudden they're all gone. So it never explained it like in any minute detail enough to be like, oh, that's what happened. You know,
And also, Uncle Rudy was a little too blase-faire about literally impaling a guy on the bug foot. He's like, "Oh, I killed him!"
we don't kill. He does.
Yeah,
Yeah, that did. I agree with y'all on that. That did get me when he like the foot went down and like crushed the guy. I was like, ooh, and he's like, I'm like, okay, that's
that's a little much.
that is kind of out of character.
Yeah.
Um, and when they got to the gadgets and all that, or like in the cord cave or whatever, again, I didn't like the grandma. Like, oh, grandma's got a minigun. That's funny. There was two different storylines of like the dark. Give me back the scarab. I'm gonna kill you. And then, oh, grandma's got a minigun. The thing crawled up your ass. Dark humor. Like there wasn't a consistency between them. But
But think about it in real life. How do you deal with bad situations or tragedy? Are you just or do you try to make a laugh out of it to get through it?
I do make a laugh out of it, but it wasn't Jaime who was going through that making bad jokes. It was the family, like, oh, our kid's kidnapped. Like I thought that didn't really work out. Well, going back to the gadgets, I thought the gadgets were cool with like the shield and the fist.
Yeah, that was
But
pretty.
yeah, I'll give it that. And also just teenage girl took out a couple armed soldiers who've had years of training. But what was the deal with the bubble gum? They're just like, oh, is this real bubble gum? No, that's mine. And then it just sort of she chews it in the helicopter and spits it out. Like
It
it felt like they wanted something real big, but then just sort of like made it really small when
it
it
turned
came
into
into.
expanding foam. I thought it was going to be like something that exploded by the name. So
Yeah,
when she pulled it out, I'm like, oh, cool. She's about to blow this chopper up while they're flying in it or something, you know? And it turns into the blob. I'm like, what the hell?
yeah, like it didn't. The hype that it was setting up was not. I didn't think like was good. Like when they found
What
the show.
wasn't the gum called like kablam or kabloom or something like that to make you
Yeah.
think it was gonna like explode?
Yeah.
Yeah, and her, I guess, since she had it, her whole plan was to get captured and use it. Um, but again, and then final showdown, the villains. I thought they were bad villains. We're evil because we're supposed to be the common trope of, oh, I'm the villain, so I'm gonna have the same powers as you. Like, come
Uh,
on.
so as far as the villain goes, I'm gonna jump in first and give my opinion on that. I guess the true villain of the movie was Susan Sarandon's character. I don't Mrs. Cord. I can't even think of what
Was
her
it Victoria?
Victoria Cord.
I think so.
She obviously they set her up from the beginning with like the newspaper clippings and all that, and talking about the OMAC, that she was going to be the bad guy. Every scene with her coming into it, like even in the mansion where she fired them for pooping in the wrong toilet. I'm like, okay, you're obviously trying to set her up as a bad guy, but I just couldn't see it. I I know Susan Sarandon's a great actress. I'm sure she's won awards. I didn't see her in this role. I mean, she didn't seem even though she did bad things. She attacked their house, blew up their house, ultimately was responsible for Uncle Ben slash Dad dying.
She
just
basically shoot
didn't
in
sell me on the role
her
as villain.
yeah, she basically showed up and was like, "Here I am. I'm gonna be bad. Give me my paycheck." Like she wasn't
Yep.
invested in the character.
Yeah, that's what I
And
was.
and then and then Carapax, whatever his deal was, we didn't find out his backstory till the end of the movie, but he was pretty much just
He-
being used by her, which we knew, but typically you have some kind of motivation. I mean, even if you're being used, you've got some kind of motivation to why you're letting someone use you. And I saw nothing, even in the backstory, that like, why was he there? What did he get out of it? So I think the movie fell short on the villains. Um, and that the whole plot line regarding the villains and what they were doing trying to get the scarab back, like i I agree with you guys, that part of the movie was not great for me.
I think the one thing that probably, even though I wasn't there with you guys, that made so it's like, oh, that's really cool, is like at the beginning when they're showing the credits leading into it, and they're flying through space, the Beetle destroying worlds. There's the blue Beetle goes to Earth, and then you see the array of other colors shooting off for uh the green beetle, the black beetle, or anything like that. But from what I've seen, they're like saying that that was also an Easter egg to the Green Lantern Corps.
That's what
So
I took that one as.
yeah,
I was talking to GL about that. I thought that at the pool party they introduced a John Stewart. They tried to without saying his name because that um I guess it was a general that talked to him. I was like, is that John Stewart's? That's got to be. But I think they were teasing that Green Lantern in this too. Yeah.
and let's talk about the pacing of the movie because I know GL wanted to talk about that. This movie
Well,
was. Unless you
everybody
want
else
to
got to give their opinion on the
go.
villains.
Y'all nailed it on the head as far as I'm concerned. They had no. Every once in a while, you get a villain that you just sometimes some way you empathize with them. You're like, I understand why you're doing this. I understand why you're a complete douche. Whatever. Nothing in this movie with these two.
It's like we're evil because we're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like, wait, we make money by developing weapons. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Like,
What was his name again? The OMAC guy. What was his actual name?
Carapax.
Carapax. Yeah. Like if at the ending where Jaime was about to kill him, but then the scarab told him, "Hey, I found these memories of him before, so we shouldn't kill him." And I feel like at that moment, like they showed that at the beginning of something instead of at the end of the movie, I would have maybe cared about him a little bit more. But just him being like that blind Winter Soldier type, "Hey, go get him." Okay, here I go. You should have killed me when you had the chance. That stuff. It was too much for me. But like I said, like if they showed that clip that the scarab showed him at the end, like somewhere in the beginning, I would have had like just a little bit more empathy for him. But I was just kind of like, you know what? You should have just killed him right there because he sucks.
And
Yeah,
to me, it would have been more effective if in the flashbacks they would have shown, or somewhere in the movie they would have shown that he had this loyalty to um, Victoria Cord. Uh, if he had this loyalty to her because he thought that she found him and he thought that she saved him, but then later on we find that she's the root to why actually he was kidnapped. Actually, she cut his arms off, sent him to war, genetically modified his body, whatever. Like if he thought one thing but then realized, oh no, it was actually this, I would have sympathized with the character and been like, oh wow, that sucks. But it wasn't that. So
Yeah,
I had no attachment.
it was like
because the way they wrote it in the story was kind of like Victoria was kind of like, you remember how you were when I found you. Like he knows, like I owe it to her to be this Winter Soldier type ass character for her. And it was only when Jaime and the Scarab showed him that, yeah, that you don't have to be like that. It was too late in the movie for me, I think, for us to be
and
like, yeah,
And I think it would have been more effective if he had this loyalty to her, like a more like a devotion, and then that devotion got broken by his realization that she caused all these issues in the past. That would have, I don't know, that would have hit home more.